Hey everyone, welcome back to Ontario Gardening. Today we are going through and we're going to do our July garden tour. It's July 6th and we're also going to harvest a few things. I've got my harvesting bucket out here. Just have some grace with me. I've never actually held a camera and tried to do everything at once with a harvest and a tour at the same time. So there might be times where I'm going to have to actually put the camera down, harvest it, and then continue on. But the first thing we're going to look at is this container garden that we did. The tower with the lettuces and the spinach and the kale in it. So I'm happy to report that the lettuce is doing quite well. I'm going to harvest some off of that. We're going to we'll have a little side salad today with our dinner. Maybe use some tomorrow for some burgers. The spinach is doing okay on some spots. And then in other spots, it's actually already bolted and gone to seed. So the problem is with container gardening for me is I'm so used to doing it in raised beds that it's hard for me to keep these moist. If you're like on a balcony or if you were just doing it on your patio and you had access to the hose all the time, it would be great for you because you could, no problems, keep these moist. I'm having a hard time with it. So we're going to harvest some of this. And of course, when it's time to harvest, we've got a dog here. But yeah, I'm just going to cut out the outer layers here and then have some salad tonight. So I've learned that I can't really harvest on camera whilst holding the phone and the clipper. So this is what I have harvested for my lettuce. Moving along, these apple trees. They never pollinated again this year. They seem to have died or gotten eaten by bugs before they were pollinated properly. I also ended up with aphids on them. I'm going to shoot a separate video to show you how to deal with those. So I'm not sure we're going to get apples again this year. We're going to try again one more time next year with these dwarf apple trees, and if they don't do anything, we might just get rid of them. We'll see how it goes, but so far not seeing anything. I have harvested off of this a couple times actually. All of our mints and pineapple sages and berry sages, all of that kind of stuff. We've got our chamomile on the bottom. Our tea garden, yeah, I have already harvested and dried, but we're going to harvest again today since we are out here and harvesting. So let's get that done. So we harvested quite a bit of herbs. The lemon balms and the mandarin balm smell so good. I can't wait to dry these and put these in my tea. So we're not quite at tomato harvest yet where I am, but these guys have now surpassed the tomato trellis, and we do have tomatoes in here. We've got tomatoes that'll be ready to go in the next couple weeks. We've got bigger ones, we've got smaller ones, like all over these plants. That variety you just seen was black crim. That was the first to emerge. So black crim for the win. But yeah, we've got them all. I ended up ripping out the marigolds. There was marigolds here, and there was also marigolds on that side. They were getting like 3 feet. They weren't blooming. They were just making everything like a big jungly mess in there. I didn't want my tomatoes to suffer any pest disease inside or any other diseases like blight. If I overwater, I don't want the water sitting in there. So I got rid of the marigolds, and honestly, I'm really glad I did. But yeah, lots of growth. There's lots of tomatoes. I am really excited for these plants. I am excited for our first tomato. And then it's the same with the asparagus. Obviously, we're still first year. We just planted these this year. But they're doing very well. They're not standing the greatest. I'm not sure if I should stake these up or what, but yeah, we do have lots of asparagus growth. Moving along I did keep one marigold here. So this is the marigold. It's still growing. It still has not bloomed, but this thing is actually attracting a lot of those Japanese beetles to it, and I've been able to come out and hand pluck. So I'm going to keep this one here because it's doing a fantastic job of doing what it's supposed to do without being overcrowded. We've actually seen our first sign of peppers in the last couple days. I've got one here. I'm thinking this is either a banana or a shishito. And then up and over here, oops, we've got our little natapino. So he is the heatless jalapeno. And as I said before, I ended up losing the tags for a lot of them. So I have the varieties that I've grown just kind of tucked over here. And as they come in, I have to figure out what they are. So moving along, we have our cucumbers. So we have the silver slicers, the jelly melly at the back, and then here is where one of them died, and I ended up putting in an okra, but I don't think he's going to do very well because he's getting shaded out. And I've already pruned this guy a couple times. So we're actually seeing some growth. I have one to harvest right in here. So the silver slicers are a little bit lighter in color. They're not that traditional dark green cucumber. They're much apparently milder and sweeter tasting. I have yet to grow them. This is my first year, so I'm going to harvest this guy and put him in my basket. I'm super excited to try him. Look, it's our first one. Oh no, this one's not for you, my sweet girl. I'll find you something though. Let's see what else we got for the puppy in here, because she just loves her garden snacks. So this year I am still using tomato cages for my cucumber trellises. Next year I think we're going to use some of that hog panel and make like either a teepee or an arch for it to go over, because these aren't really working out for me the way I like anymore. I actually had to go, the cucumbers, as you can see, are going through the fence, and they were pulling out my neighbor's hydrangeas and pulling them through the fence. So I went and got this nifty little grabber tool from the dollar store because I can't reach, so I can actually just come over and pull them away from the fence, because we don't want to do that. So we've got that going here. Next we've got our potatoes, which are now flowering. So that's exciting. So with potatoes, once they flower and the potato flowers start to dry off and die off, you're getting close to harvest. So it's exciting that they're flowering. That's really good news. Beside it we have our chives. And I keep having to come and like push these over with this fence because they're shading out the chives. But finally, after years of trying to grow chives, I have chives. Beside it, we have the green onions. Our hanging baskets are doing okay. Some of them. We'll get to that. We do have our celery here. And the celery is doing super well as well. We are going to be looking at blanching this celery soon. So stay tuned for that video. You start blanching them about 3 to 4 weeks before harvest, so we still have a little bit longer to go, but they're looking very healthy. Beside it, moving along, we've got our carrots, and our carrots are doing really well as well. We've got our coreless nantes, and then beside it we have the black nebula. And I just noticed the other day that the stalks are actually like a dark purple. So we know which ones are which, and that's pretty cool. About the hanging baskets though, we all of a sudden are having a squirrel problem. After a month and a half of these being out here, all of a sudden they're being attacked. So I'm not really sure what the problem is, what they're all of a sudden interested in them about, but not cool, squirrels, not cool. Moving along here, we've got our Swiss chard, which is doing pretty good. Those stalks are coming along. We're gonna wait for them to keep growing and growing because I would love to get a good saute. We've got all of our rutabagas here. I came out a couple weeks ago and thinned them out, so now it should be about 1 rutabaga per square foot to really give it that chance to grow. And then we have our zucchini plants. Now on the right hand side here, I have seeds that I got in a seed trade that were labeled yellowed zucchini. So I've never grown the yellow ones before. This is what they're looking like as they come in. But there's this like super suspicious one at the back. I'm gonna harvest him and then show you guys just so you can see. I'm not really sure if it was a seed that got mixed in. I don't really know. But we also are Black Beauty is the variety this year. As you can see, I've already come out and done some pruning on these zucchini, and yet they're still crazy. I'm going to have to do a lot more pruning. But we have our first one here that I'm going to take off. Now I let them get this big. Like, this is huge. You're really only supposed to let them get like super, like way tinier than this, about the size of that cucumber. But I let them get huge because I don't usually fresh eat them. I shred them, I chop them up, I freeze them, I make zucchini relish, breads, patties, meatballs. I do soups. I do a whole bunch of stuff with this zucchini. So for me, that's a good size. But I'm gonna go back and I'm gonna get that one that's back there. See if you guys know what it is. So this is it here. I'm not sure if I just let it go too long, or if this isn't a yellow zucchini after all, if this is some sort of squash. If you know, I mean, post it in the comments. That would be great, because I would love to know what this is. I'm still going to treat it like a zucchini. Maybe just cook it up and grill it on the barbecue as opposed to trying to use it in breads in case it's not. But yeah, let me know. So then moving along, we have all of our beans, and these beans are getting close. We've got the purple beans over here. As you can tell, they're the purple flowers. We did grow these last year. And then beside them, you've got your regular Lewis green beans, your stringless green beans, bush beans. So there's another plant that has seemed to come to the squirrels. Okay, so the last couple of things here, we've got our pollinator garden, and I'm going to back up just so you can kind of see it. It has gotten like crazy out of control. Oh, it was so clean and nice before. We have got the sunflowers basically shadowing out those strawberries on the hangers on each side. We've got the wildflower mix going crazy, the hummingbird mix going crazy, and then everything I hand planted in there is also going crazy. It's been so dry and hot, like our grass is suffering big time. We haven't had rain here in a couple weeks now. So we're just trying to hand water everything and keep it alive. But we are getting there. Like, our sunflowers have some heads on them. The strawberries are doing okay. They're getting ravished by those Japanese beetles. I'm having to come out here and hand pick every day, but they're trying. Oh, this candy cane zinnia. Check this out. How pretty is this? I did a video. I was working on editing a video for a while to add pictures in. I didn't know how to do it, and I'm finally just figuring it out so that I can show you the 15 types of zinnias that I'm growing in here. And this one is so pretty. It looks like candy cane stripes. And then we've got like your typical other zinnias. I'm not exactly sure what this is. It would have been part of that wildflower mix. Trying to zoom in on some of these heads here, but I'm really glad that I decided. You can't see any of, like, I have ornaments, birds in there. You've seen them in the last tour, but you can't see them anymore. I can hear the bees just buzzing around my head. But like, we've got some really pretty zinnias in here. Oops, sorry. And then just some nice growth. Some scabiosas. I believe this one is the cactus zinnia. I'm waiting for the dahlias to pop up. I haven't seen them come up yet. But just some beautiful, beautiful colors, beautiful flowers. I think this one's a meteor down here. This one's really cool. Just, yeah, some really pretty flowers. So we're just waiting. I've got some baby's breath in here. The bachelor buttons are coming in finally. So yeah, and it's been working great. We've seen a lot more bees and pollinators to this garden this year. I haven't had to hand pollinate really any of my stuff, with the exception, moving along over here, I think I'm going to have to hand pollinate these eggplants. So the eggplants are doing very well. They keep flowering, but then the flowers are dying off. So I'm going to assume it's a hand pollination thing or a watering thing, because they're in these felt bags, and I know eggplant love water. They do not like to be dry whatsoever. So we're going to work on cranking out the water on these, hand pollinating the flowers. And if that doesn't work, I'm not really sure. The okra all of a sudden is making a comeback. So if you watched my last video, you knew we had a problem with the okra. I'm going to let it do its thing and just kind of see what happens. And then last but not least, our Brussels sprouts. They're pretty much just a snack for the garden pests at this point. I'm not seeing any Brussels sprout activity. I think it's a little too warm. They're probably trying to bolt. So this one's probably a garden failure this year, but that's okay. It happens. So yeah, so that's our garden tour for July. Everything is really nice coming in, and we did have quite the little harvest today. So yeah, we've got our first little harvest here. Super exciting. I'm going to assume that our next garden tour, we're going to be getting those tomatoes, those beans, a whole bunch more cucumbers. So this is a pretty good start considering my plants have only been in the ground for about 3.5 weeks. So thank you so much for following along on this garden tour, and we will see you soon for some more canning tutorials and other stuff that we're doing around our little suburban backyard homestead. Thanks for hanging with us. Bye.